Hey everybody, it's GoblinX, and welcome to my very first draft of Edge of Eternities. This is part of the early access event, so thanks to Wizards of the Coast for providing me with the promotional early access token. Without further ado, though, let's get into the brand new format and see what we can play with today. We're starting off with a great looking rare, the 0-point Ballad. So X and a black for a sorcery. Destroy all creatures with toughness X or less, and you lose X life. That is going to be a hefty cost there, that life loss. But if you can make it to 7 mana or more, so you're spending 6 on X and then an additional black, you also get to return one of the destroyed creatures onto the battlefield under your control. So a board wipe that ends up with you keeping the best creature on the board seems very, very strong. This is going to be hopefully a pretty bonkers card. It also only requires a single black mana, so it's super splashable, which is very relevant in this set because there are these lander tokens that can pull out a basic land card of any color. So even if we're not really playing black, if we have a deck that just has a few lander tokens, we can just splash in the Ballad. Just needs that single black. So pick number 2. Lots of good looking uncommons here. I haven't read the whole set list, so I'm going to have to try to read the stuff real quick. I did play a few sealeds before this. There's not a lot of really good spacecraft, so I don't think that Squadron Ace is going to be great. But I have been impressed by them. They're a lot better than I thought they would be. Ooh, wow. 6 mana, 6/6 reach, and you get to keep drawing guaranteed non-lands every time you play a land. That's cool. The Predator, 5/7 reach that you could play for only 4 mana. I like the Agrarian for the lander tokens. I might be overvaluing this card, but I've been very impressed by this in my sealed events this set so far. So I'm just going to lead with the Agrarian here. Get a bunch of these lander tokens as this becomes tapped. One of the cool things you can do is if you have any spacecraft, you can station them by tapping this card to spit out the lander token without even attacking. So like here's an example of a spacecraft here. So stationing it just lets you tap your creatures without attacking with them to put charge counters on it. So it's a good combo with anything that has good tap abilities. That said, there are no dual lands at common or uncommon in the set, so I'm really not trying to go full 5 color. I don't think I can get that many lander tokens, but we'll have to see how the set plays out. It might actually be pretty good. So I could stick to green here and just take the Trampler with a good landfall ability for just a little bit of extra damage. This Infiltrator could draw a lot of cards if you can double spell frequently, or you have this Elemental with good landfall triggers. I think I'm going to stick to green here. Just take the Crasher. Pick number 4. I like the Glacier Godmaw a lot. It's a lot of mana, but again, green has lander tokens to ramp up. And if you get a lot of good cheap removal, that can help prolong the game as well. And if you get to that 7 mana, you get a 6/6 trample and a lander token, and every landfall trigger gives your whole board +1/+1 vigilance and haste. So if you wait until you have an 8th land in your hand to play this, you can play it and just haste out a 7/7 trample vigilance out of nowhere for an immediate swing, which is huge. And again, it buffs your entire board. Any other creatures you draw for the rest of the game, if they can't kill it immediately, are going to have haste off landfall triggers. If you've got lander tokens sitting around. Yeah, I like that a lot. Stick to green ramp stuff here. Yeah, get to start off very much a green ramp deck. Here's a Grove Strider. Just a 5 mana ward 2 with power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control. So, costs more mana to kill it with any removal, and it's just going to be super beefy. I have liked the green beef a lot. The other option is Virus Beetle, which obviously we have a 0-point Ballad, so we could take some of these solid filler black commons that we're seeing. But if I can just stick to all the great green ramp, I'm going to do that, because these green ramp spells also play incredibly with the 0-point Ballad, because they help get us to that 7 mana a lot earlier, and they make it so even if we don't play black as a core color, we have access to 0-point Ballad. Oh man, pick 7, Wayfarer. I really like Wayfarer. This feels like one of the better lander token producers. Just a 3 mana 3/3 on curve, plus get that lander token. Another Godmaw? This is going to be the God deck. Pick 9, we have an early Death Toucher. Or the 3 mana 4/2. That card's good at stationing and it surveils to set up your draws, but our 3-drop slot's going to be full of Galactic Wayfarers at this rate. Like, if I get any more, I would cut Thawbringer for more Wayfarers. So I think I'm taking the 2-drop for mana curve purposes to make sure if anybody does manage to draft a good aggressive deck, we have some early blockers. I haven't seen anything super aggressive yet because I've only played sealed so far, but I imagine you can still try to curve people out. Lash Whip Predator Wheeling is awesome. Great against aggro. Just a 4-mana 5/7 roadblock in that that kind of matchup. I feel like even if we do manage to get a 5-color deck, there just aren't very many multicolored spells in this format. Not very many multicolored permanents. So it's not really making many 2/2s, so it's not doing anything until you station it for 12 power, so I'm just not going to try to do that. It doesn't feel like a particularly powerful goal to try to reach. Okay, we're definitely splashing in black at least for 0-point Ballad, so the worst case scenario taking this vote out is that I'm just splashing it in, which is still good. It only requires a single black. I've got tons of lander tokens and I'm already splashing black, so I like vote out here, taking an efficient removal spell. The All Fate Stalker has some really fun synergies with the warp mechanic. If you warp one of your big creatures out, then you get it for a turn and then it exiles itself, and you can cast it again later. If you warp it out to where you're going to get it for a turn, and then you warp the Stalker out, you exile your card that's going to get exiled in the end step anyway, and then the Stalker in the end step exiles itself, and you keep your warped card forever. Also, Lobster Citizen, very funny. Pack 2, pick 2. We wield the Lash Whip Predator. I don't think I'm taking that here. But I guess the only other option is an Ice Cave Crasher. Or a Dauntless Scrapbot, which is just a colorless Galactic Wayfarer with only 1 toughness instead of 3. Could take Plasma Bolt here. Have the option of being in red. I don't know, I'll just take this Lash Whip thing. Probably wheel Ice Cave Crasher at worst. I do like the card a lot. Here's another Galactic Wayfarer. That feels like a pretty easy pick. There's a Seam Rip, but that only kills really small permanents. I guess if I'm really, really late game, we could play the Eternity Elevator for the tap for 3, which is fun. You would never want to station on this, though. I mean, I guess, like, might as well station onto it if you're in a board stall and you can't get attacks through. But, I mean, by the time you've unlocked that, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we'll take Wayfarer. Pick 4. Scrapbot, also Fate Maker. Can warp it for 2 to put a +1/+1 counter on the board, or for 4 mana, it permanently sticks around and gives all of our creatures counters trample. Not the biggest fan of this pack. I really don't think I'm going to end up playing, like, any scrap bots, because then I would be in a position where I have, like, 4 Wayfarers and 2 scrap bots. Like, do I really want, like, 6 3-drops, even if they do all ramp? Probably more than I would want a Fate Maker here. I've got a lot better 4-drops. This is weird. Out of any draft I will do, this is the draft where we really see, truthfully, how good are lander tokens, because I'm going to have infinite. I'm almost definitely supposed to take Tenderfoot to have another early blocker. Scrapbot would be funny. Yeah, no, I'll take Tenderfoot. We might wheel some of the other scrap bots at this point. Pretty late Plasma Bolt, but this only kills the small stuff. But we don't see any removal that can kill anything we choose, so we take it. We have so many lander tokens now that another worst case scenario thing is we just splash in the bolt. I guess Germinating Worm, if I don't end up with a lot of 2-drops, is not the worst thing. Just randomly gain a couple life. If I'm doing nothing else on turn 2 anyway, just gain a little bit of life before I get to the 5 mana I need to play that. I feel like we're probably cutting these Crashers. Fungal Colossus could be very cheap if we just run like one of each basic for all of our lander tokens. Cast this thing for like 3 for a 5/5 in the right position. Sure. The Savior seems gross with Virus Beetle. Alright, Rock Lobster. 2 to each creature. If somebody finds the aggro deck, here's removal. And you know what's awesome about the splash of this? If they're not aggro, still just make a lander token. Have 50 ways to make lander tokens in this deck. Yeah, I mean, I don't need anything else to ramp into, but I need it more than I need more ramp. So I'll take the dragon there. These really fancy lands are from the bonus sheet. There's about 1 in every 8 packs. And there's a lot of spicy reprints and some fine filler reprints. Okay, pack 3. Pick number 1. Any exceptional removal, I would slam dunk that. If there was like another vote out or something, just take that, but there's no removal. I can go for the double splash of Space-Time Anomaly, which I think is the kind of card, if it's in your opening hand, right, and you have like the early blockers to play this on turn 4 while you're still at 20, pretty incredible. Very bad to draw to the wrong time. If you're under any board pressure where they're just going to kill you in a turn or two, then it doesn't matter how much it mills. And if you draw it late when you've taken a bunch of damage, it's just not going to mill much. I guess I'm just taking a lander token here. No removal, and I don't really want to splash in that double off-color card. So, get the cheap ramp. This seems like a really good 2-drop for decks that are trying to prolong the game a bunch. A 2/3, so 3 toughness on the 2-mana card, plus gain a life as we're doing all of our lander token shenanigans. There is a fight spell here. And I do have a lot of beefy creatures later. I'm very much in the market for early removal, but this doesn't really count as early removal. It's not really removal till like turn 4 at least. Then I can kill like a 3 toughness or less card. I guess I'm probably still supposed to take it because how low I am on removal. Pick 3. Orbital Plunge. This is a removal spell that also gives me a lander token if I kill something small with it. I'm gonna Jund them out today. It wouldn't be crazy to take Banishing Light, though, because that can kill literally anything, but I think the synergy of removal spell plus lander token looks excellent for this deck. Pick 4. 3 to each opponent, or exile all artifacts in mana value 3 or less. Seems a little sideboardy. Turn a creature spacecraft from your grave to the battlefield. Seems pretty fun. We're a 3-color deck, though, so I'm not resolving this on turn 2 too often. 7 mana spacecraft looks like it'd be fine in this deck, or the Colossus. I'll try the Brood Tender. That might work out. Another Nebula Dragon, or another 2-drop for an early blocker. Be a 2-drop here. Pick 6. I've got 1 self-mill card for Pull Through the Weft. It doesn't feel like there's enough self-mill really in this format to get this card going. That's kind of the only way to get lands in your grave is if you've played self-mill and I have like 1 Brood Tender. Guess I take this combat tricky thing, but I don't think I'm playing anything out of that pack. No! I should have taken the card that cares about self-mill because we just opened up another Brood Tender. So now I can play black as my secondary color and red as the splash, and actually try to consistently cast these on turn 2 and then reanimate Godmaws for cheap. 1 mana, 1/1 Death Toucher is a good way to slow the game down too. I'm already basically cutting the Crashers for other creatures. So that's the pick. Fate Maker, I'm not playing that. If anybody's in blue-white, again, mill 20 when you've got a 40-card deck is super real, but it's only mill 20 if it's in your opener, so I understand the hesitation. If you're a deck that can consistently trigger Void, this is literally just Thoughtseize, but you don't lose life. Because of that cost reduction. So that's kind of legit. How bad of an idea is this? How deep do we want to go? So, I mean, I have enough lander tokens that splashing in a single blue card is not hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 ways to make a lander token, which means I have 10 cards in this deck that will make it. So if this does resolve, whenever I play anything that makes a lander token, I instead make a copy of whatever this is on. There's no way this is the objectively right thing to do because it's still incredibly weak to removal, and I think there's a lot of good removal in this set, but it's funny enough and easy enough to splash. I'm gonna play it here if I can find the room. Again, I don't really recommend that because there's a lot of good removal. So if they just blow this up before we make a lander token, we get 2 for 1 bad. But man, is that potentially quite fun. Cuddle our most filler creatures and leave just mostly beef. I actually didn't take any spacecraft to get the Agrarian here, or the Agrarian tapping without attacking, which is a little bit awkward. Moonlight Meditation is definitely the worst non-creature card. But then there's like the Combat Trick. Cutting 9 cards here. I have put 9 cards to the side, which means that if I want to keep Moonlight Meditation, or Moonlit Meditation, I have to cut something else. Maybe Nebula Dragon's a fine cut. You know, I might have enough creatures throughout the curve here, alongside 2 board wipes, that I don't really need the Predators. So, like, they're the weakest of my top-end plays, because they're just going to be a 5/7. Not a lot of relevant abilities. The big help of having them is that they're good against aggressive decks, where they've got, like, 3 creatures on board, and then boom, that's a 4-mana 5/7 huge roadblock. I don't know if I really need that against those kind of decks. So I'm playing a bunch of, like, 3-mana, 3-power creatures. I'm perfectly happy to just trade off with it on blocks on turn 3. So I guess these are actually potential cuts as well. They're probably better than Germinating Worm, at least. Maybe not. Okay, I'm going to play Moonlit Meditation because I'm an idiot. And then this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 cards set aside, so I get to put 2 back in. I'll put in that Nebula Dragon. We get to higher mana values, and that clears out a blocker, or clears out an attacker, and it's a big blocker on itself, or by itself. And then I guess we'll try out the Fungal Colossus. If I'm splashing blue as well here, could have 4 different lands on board. Maybe get the 3 mana 5/5, which is fun. Help me double spell on a later turn. Okay. Really not sure these cuts are right, but it's very early in the set, and this seems pretty fun to me. Try it out. Go 1 island. I guess if I ever mill the island off Brood Tender, I'm doomed. The one issue with only running a single one, but again, there's like 10 lander tokens. Yeah, that's insane. So even with a single source of a specific color, I have 10 ways to get it onto the board in the late game. I think something like this is probably right, but I could see running a second island just because we do get doomed if I play Brood Tender and mill the island. Best build of this deck definitely cuts Meditation. It probably cuts Meditation for one of those 5/7s at least. Has something to do. You know, if I play Rock Lobster, I have 3 other multicolored permanents. for when I play the Infinite Guideline Station. If I want to get really stupid, I could get really, really, really stupid. In a bad way. In a not a powerful deck kind of way. Alright, when in the early access, let's just do some stupid chaos. Try to get Moonlit Meditation nonsense going on in our Jund ramp deck. This will be a fun one, whatever happens, but hopefully good things happen, and we'll find out soon enough as we hop into the gameplay. We'll keep this. I can't mill the island if it's in my opening hand. This will be my very first game of draft in this set, so it's time to see how aggressive you can really get in this format. If our opponent's got a good aggro deck, this hand is definitely bad. Or if it's a big rampy mirror, we've got our ramp win condition. This is another deck with a lot of high mana value stuff to do, so even with all the lander tokens in the world, I don't think it'd be crazy to run 18 lands here. Because I do have to spend 2 mana every time I want to crack a lander token. So say I have like 2 lander tokens out, 3 lands on board, I really would have wished that I drew the 4th land drop in that kind of position. When others becomes tapped to draw a card, then discard a card. That's pretty good. It's a good thing I've got a blocker set up for that soon. Let's trade into it after it gets its first trigger. If they play a good station to keep a good spacecraft to station, they can keep tapping this without attacking. Get its trigger every turn, which would be nice. Turn it into a merfolk looter. They just attack here, though. Fair enough. They get decent value with this trade. Oh, and then a 1/3 flyer that gets bigger every time they play an artifact. That is threatening enough, I think, to just vote out immediately before they could play any more artifacts. I guess I'm only taking like 2 or 3 damage from it next turn. So maybe I do just crack the lander for now. Yeah, I could take a hit of 1 to 3 or 4 damage for now. Kev Land Seeker. 4/3 menace, and they get a lander token for a turn. They'll have to sacrifice it at the end of their next turn, so if they want to use it, they have to use it by the end of that turn. They go ahead and put the counter on that to spread their threats out, which is smart. Because now I have to choose between voting the Land Seeker out or the +1/+1 counter producer. Also, I think it's Kav, not Cav. If I said Cav, that was very incorrect. Yeah, I mean, a 5/4 menace is a pretty astronomically huge deal, so I think they successfully did it. I think I have to kill the 5/4 here, the Kav. Again, I think it's Kav because they're Kavu. They still have to use the lander token now if they want to get it used. They are going to use it. Finds another island, no splash from our opponent. Poke for 1. This card is insanely good. They made a better Sibsig Appraiser when Sibsig Appraiser was already one of the best cards in Tarkir Dragonstorm. Okay. I'm a germinating. Did have the mana to play Godmaw there, but if I wait till I have an 8th land, I can play Godmaw and then just haste it out next turn anyway. Which I guess I could play Worm and haste it out. But I want to make sure even if they have removal for Godmod, it gets one massive swing in. Locked in here. Oh wow, they got the double Momentum. This is the one that lets them cast things from the top. This is the one that puts counters on the board every time they play anything. That's really gross. The full artifact deck here. All right, you know what else is really gross? Gross. Glacier Godmaw. So let's do some things to our opponent here. Kaboom. We are flooding. I'm concerned. We've drawn 4 spells all game. Maybe I should not play 18 lands. I am on the 17 lander, but I was just talking about how this could even be an 18 lander on average. All right, cool. Stop them from playing stuff off the top. That works with me. Put them to 13. And there's Sib-Sig Appraiser back again. Now Sib-Sig Appraiser gets to draw 2 cards out of your top 4, which is insanity. It was 2 spells, too. They chose to mill the Pangolin for something better, so very good hits for our opponent. Self-crafted Mechan. You can sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on a creature, and draw a card. Cool, so sack the Pangolin to draw a card here. They're doing some digging to try to find a way to deal with Godmaw, plus now they've got a big blocker there. If they attack, they don't have a kill on Godmaw on blocks. Ooh, 0-point ballot on 5 is a 1-sided board wipe. No, doing it on 6 is 1-sided as well, and then I reanimate something from grave, because then this is a 7/7? Oh my god. Yeah, if I play the land first to make this a 7/7 and then do this for 6. Disgusting. And I have the 2 mana for the... Oh my god, I have the 2 mana to haste out too. Okay, they concede there. Yeah, that was brutal. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we could get lethal there. So it was... They're at 13, so pick up the biggest creature, pick up the 3/4. And then that is 10 power on our board. But I can then sacrifice the lander token to trigger Godmaw again. And then that's 10, 11, 12 power. That's the only way to give this haste, is to sack this for another land. Because I can't play 2 lands in one turn. Naturally, I already played 1 for Godmaw to trigger and not die to the ballot. So I guess we didn't have lethal. But we would hit them for 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, put them to 1 life, and that was a really, really gross combination there. Yeah, 0-point ballot is insane in this deck, because it does get better when you have, like, really, really beefy creatures, because that can turn it into a 1-sided board wipe. And if you ever live in Magical Christmas Land, like we did in that game, where you can make it a 1-sided board wipe and reanimate something from their grave, it's absolutely absurd. That was an incredible draw there to end that game. We are 1-0, heading into game 2. No spells, no problem. We cast like 5 spells the whole game, and that was enough, because those spells were massively impactful. Another blue-red deck. Might be a similar game here. Could end the same way with a 0-point ballot in the hand already. Did not mill any creatures for Brood Tender. Those are some rough mills. Just going to tap it to draw a card here. Find Galactic Wayfarer. At least the draws themselves are pretty good. Even if we're missing on the mills. So now we're ramping towards our Ballad and our Nebula Dragon. There's a Mechan, just a 3/4 on this board. Can vote out to just slam in with everybody for 5. Keep the pressure on them for now. Still have a board wipe for later if this is too aggressive. Feels all good to me. Gave them the Amogus. Threw them out the airlock. Orbital Plunge. Kill my creature and ramp up. That's very good. Hey, another Brood Tender. I can Brood Tender my Brood Tender. So I can Brood Tender while I Brood Tender. Let's go. What are these mills? I might have... maybe I should have cracked the lander first. So it wouldn't be possible to mill my island. Luckily, I wasn't punished. I think I should have cracked this lander first, because I'm guaranteed to do that anyway. Didn't mill anything relevant, but they still kill the Brood Tenders. That's fine by me. This stops me from getting another Wayfarer, I suppose, which is fair enough. It's pretty interesting. So they can, like, sack that for their own abilities and stuff now. It stays tapped forever, but if they have some other way to sacrifice it for value... Oh, wait, no, you don't have to tap it to sacrifice it, actually. So if they get treasure tokens, they can use its ability, but they don't have green or black yet, so probably fine. I think I'm supposed to just God Maw. Even though I don't have the land yet. Just haste it in right now. It's a one-shot kill next turn. If they don't have removal for it, and they're blue-red, so there's not a lot of good ways to kill it. They already spent one of their ways they could have. The Tractor Beam would be one of the very few cards I think that could actually deal with it in blue-red. I guess the Plunge also, 6 damage is actually enough. Surprisingly. Usually red has a real rough time killing like 6/6s. There's a lot of removal in this set. Starwinder's the play. Get a 7/7 blocker. That is definitely not enough. With Lander token for haste here. Kaboom. That will be a lethal. Thanks to Godmaw. Good old Craterhoof Behemoth at uncommon now, everybody. That is a 2-0 heading into game 3. Blue-red decks, eat your heart out. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 3. If I don't draw any land, we have a problem. But no matter what land I draw here, our Wayfarer gets to pull out our black source. And we really get things going. And we also have a Litho Breaking if they're really aggressive. They are green and blue. Probably not very aggressive. Definitely a rampy color pair. Also, somebody followed the channel. Thank you for that. Well, let's see what they're up to here. On the event, it says blue-green is ramp. So, according to Wizards, that's what they're usually doing. And that is the case. They play the Wayfarer. We have missed a land drop now. So I'm going to crack this for the black. And then thanks to the Void trigger, our Bolt now does 3 damage. And we can keep this board empty to poke them a little bit in the meantime. Now we've got access to vote out if they resolve a really big green threat. Oh, they're really ramping. Play a Scroll, play a Pollinator. That's 2 different mana sources there. Sure. I don't mind plunging the Pollinator. But if I Litho Breaking it, I can play Brood Tender and kill it in the same turn, and that feels quite relevant. I would like to kill this Pollinator, because they only have 3 lands on board. They didn't play a 4th this turn, so we know they're stuck on mana. So I'm basically just shocking the... bolting the bird here, whatever you want to call it. Because that can tap any untapped permanent to give them a mana of any color. Ooh, we hit the dragon. We can reanimate the dragon and shoot something for 3 next turn. Fun. But yeah, they can use the Lander token for mana without having to sack it at that point with the Pollinator, which was a good combo. Yeah, they don't as much. It's like, it's kind of awkward because with the Lander tokens, if you're stuck on mana early, it's like you need mana. Which means, like, okay, if I crack this, I can get more mana later, but also you have to spend mana to crack them while you're stuck on mana and trying to impact the board. So lander tokens can be rough when you're stuck on mana there. To where that pollinator would have been great, making sure that lander got good use, but since they lost the pollinator, they just went ahead and sacked the lander token for a card draw. Okay, I think I'm supposed to just jam rather than reanimate the dragon here. Although, I don't have to tap to do this. Maybe it's just attack and reanimate the dragon. That would sound crazy to me. But I could just play Grove Strider instead. Have 3 creatures on the board. Yeah, that's pretty good. Go as wide as possible. Better Sib Sigger Praisers back again. This time our opponent's under so much pressure, though, they're not going to warp it. They're just going to hard cast and make sure they have a blocker there. Biomechan Engineer is an awesome card. Gives you the lander token early and gives you a great way to use your mana late. 8 mana, draw 2 and get a 2/2. Alright, they're at 9 here. Could vote out the 4/5 and they're down to just 2/2s on blocks. Feels pretty good. Orbital Plunge is better than vote out, though, because then I can save the vote out for something even bigger. Could play Fungal Colossus and vote out. I can actually play Brood Tender and vote out without tapping any of my attackers. But I guess the 2/3 doesn't attack too well into both of these. No, it attacks fine. If they want to double block and kill this, they go to 1 life. Yeah, no, I'll play Fungal. Well, these are both reasonable. Okay, I'm going to hit them a little bit less hard to play a beefier creature right now. Full control, so I can tap how I want. There. Again, the other way was, if I play Brood Tender, I didn't have to tap any current attackers to do that. Okay, they concede anyway. Because now their best block is double blocking just to kill 1 creature and going to 4 there. Alright. Really, really good stuff from the deck so far. Pretty quick 3-0 heading into game 4. Game number 4. This will be a keep. I have Hole Carver and a vote out coming up. I need to hit 1 land draw. That's been somewhat consistent, but if we can hit that 1 land, our lander token off of Scrapbot can get us the red source for the Plasma Bolt. And then we have all 3 of our main colors. Ooh. Terrifying start from our opponent. That's for sure. The Genomorph Imago by itself attacks as a 3/3 flyer every turn if they hit their landfall triggers. So I'm already quite threatened here. We did draw not a land, but a lander token. So if I miss the land next turn, we just crack that for red. But I have so much lander production now that I've got 2 different ways to get 1 that we really just want to hit a natural land. We did not hit a natural land, which is pretty brutal. So we get a red and pass. So technically I could do that at instant speed to pretend I have some kind of trick here. But for laziness sake, if we do it right now, Arena auto passes through their turn and I don't have to keep clicking OK. So we're working our way towards being able to Plasma Bolt the Imago. Need another lander token, and then I crack the lander and play Plasma Bolt in the same turn. So next turn, crack the lander for blue, and Plasma Bolt now does 3 damage, and we kill Imago and stop taking the flying damage. And I have the combo, I've got Moonlit Meditation for any other lander token producing cards that we draw into. Greenhouse is immediately half-stationed here. That is super threatening. A 5/4 flying trample. Could vote the greenhouse out after they activate it. Did naturally draw the blue. It's interesting. I have to trigger Void. I can't actually afford to play Meditation here. I have to, yeah, crack this. So let's get our second green. Have access to, like, Grove Strider. I mean, I guess Vote Out triggers it too. The problem with using Vote Out here is I go Vote Out, Plasma Bolt, kill both of these. If they play just like a 5-mana 5/5, I'm just going to die to the Flying Trampler because they immediately station and attack me with it next turn. So I have to save Vote Out for the greenhouse. So it's... Get the green. Plasma Bolt. Oh no, they got a +1/+1 counter on everybody. It doesn't even work. I wasn't paying attention. Oh my god, we're so dead then. However we play it. Wow, yeah, getting out of range of Plasma Bolt literally just in time. So that one missed land drop did cost us the game, I guess. So what was the play this turn then? Was it really just like Vote Out Imago? Blocks are horrible. Yeah, no flyers or anything. Yeah, we were just going to have an awful time here. Because I still get to vote out the Imago, but now I do it without holding a blocker up. So if they play another creature in Crew Greenhouse, they hit for like 9. Misplay. I did not realize that the greenhouse put a counter on the entire board, not just the Tenderfoot there. Yeah, this is insane. Even our board wipe's not going to get us now. So of course there it is. That's funny. Yep, that's super dead. Alright, I definitely punted last turn pretty bad, but we could win that game. They just got too much out too quick. And that is 3-1 heading into game 5. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 5. Oh, this looked like a snap keep to me. I just now realized we don't have a green source. Well, this could have been real bad. Well, it could be real bad if we don't draw one green source, but we have twice as many green sources as any other color in this deck, so... Cross our fingers and pray. Yeah, I should have mulliganed this. Non-green hands are just completely unkeepable for this deck. I just genuinely didn't notice we don't even have a forest. I was just playing fast. These are all phantom events, so I'm not super concerned. Just playing massively well. Just trying to play as many games as I can within this tiny time span, so I'm playing a little too fast, and it's working out a little poorly for me. A little bit of misplays here, but hey, that's what happens when you got a bunch of forests in the deck. You draw them. Let's go. Thank you, top deck. This hand is starting to look nigh unbeatable. With a Grove Strider to be a massive creature that'll be big enough to like survive the ballad, however big we make it. This looks like a fantastic start. There's the Skittermaw. Sure, I'll jam in. We're not playing another blocker right now. Not really in the market to kill a 2/2 menace when I have a board wipe coming up in the future. Germinating for some life gain because I'm not doing anything else with this mana anyway, and then we get a green source. Doing it in the lazy mode so that I don't have to keep clicking the OK button. But technically it is best to do that during your opponent's end step to pretend you have something they might play around. There's a Hole Carver. A Weft Blade Enhancer buff up those little guys. And they have a 6-mana creature for later in the game. Take a little bit of damage here. As long as I have at least 7 life, so I can pay 6 for the ballad, I will super win in the late game, so I will take this early damage here for now. Play another Wayfarer to guarantee I have 7 mana up next turn. I'm going to take the trade, so we do slow them down a bit. What if at this point... I feel like I'm in a good enough position without the board wipe. I might just play it normally. Just vote out the Skittermaw here to stop taking damage. That could help me potentially get into a position where I get to still have like 19 life by the time I cast this Ballad. Force them to get a pretty demanding board state to break through the really beefy creatures I'm about to be casting. I feel like this could be fine. If it ends up looking really bad, if they play some insane threat here, then we just kill it and steal it from them. They play like a bomb rare. So our worst case scenario does not go particularly poorly. We just won't have a backup removal spell post board wipe anymore. That's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is quite good. So Thera. That is pretty good against what I'm trying to do here. So whenever one of their creatures dies, I have to exile a creature now. Well, that's actually really bad right now. Hold up. They might have misplayed. Yeah, they have to sack it in the end step if somebody doesn't have any creatures out. And they don't have any creatures out right now. Yeah, that was rough. That was just the early access style misplay, pre-release kind of misplay. Yeah, that's kind of brutal for our opponent, because that was likely their strongest card in hand. But it's a little awkward, the wording on it. Beginning of your end step, if a player controls no creatures, you sack it and bring back the best exiled creature. It does count yourself. If you have no creatures on board, you have to sack it, or if your opponent has no creatures on board because you've exiled enough of their stuff. So tragically for our opponent, you can't play it on an empty board. There's Dockworker Drone. Currently winning pretty handily off just some green beef here. But we've got a backup board wipe. If I draw another land, I'm just going to hold it in hand at this point. It's going to be 1 less damage with our Grove Strider, but it'll mean that if they hit a Virus Beetle, I won't have to discard my bomb rare. For 11 if I Litha broke the drone. If their last spell in hand isn't an instant, it's possible I could have balloted for 6 for lethal. No, there's no hasters. Yeah, no, I would just kill Wayfarer, hit for 8, and not haste for anything. Oh man, they're in a really rough spot after that. Sothara. Or Sothera. They just have to Indestructible to buy a little bit of time. Fair enough. I could have Litha broke their drone in response to that. But I'm a greedy man, and I want to make sure I have ballot no matter what. So I can get a counter on both of those, have a 3/3 and a 4/5. So kill everything with power 4 or less would let us deal well over lethal to them here. Oh, it's toughness based. Okay, that hasn't been relevant so far, but that's important now. Because it's toughness based, I'd have to say 5, and then they still wouldn't be dead. Because I'd have a 9/9 against nothing, I'd put them to 2. Well, shoot. Alright, I guess we just jam then. It's not going to be lethal. At that point, it's just do it for 6 and then enhance the Grove Strider and hit for 10, put them to 1. But 1 is not 0. So we're chilling. Still a super winning board state with 2 different kinds of board wipes in hand if something goes wrong. If I had the mana to do this for 7 mana total and this plus Crack the Landers, if I had 12 mana on board, I guess I could have lethaled last turn. But I don't. Because I could have gotten a 10th land to make this a 10-10 naturally, and then the Ballad would have gotten the Enhancer to make that an 11-11. Alright. That is the win regardless. And we are now like 4-1 here. This deck has been phenomenal. Only game we lost is when we missed a pretty pivotal land draw because our opponent just curved out really, really well with some beef. So yeah, 4-1. Let's head into one last game of Magic here. Again, stopping these recordings at about the 1 hour point so that I can record as many of these videos as possible within the 1 day that this event is up. So we'll give this deck one more game to show off its spectacular cards, win conditions, 7-drop uncommons, bomb rares. This deck has been super, super fun, so let's hope we get one final just banger of a game with it. And this is a really good start. Curiosity turn 1 to get the ramp on 2. Playing against a really aggressive deck. Okay, this is what I want to see. I want to see how good aggro could possibly be. And they're starting with just like a 1-mana 2-2 haste, get in immediately. So against this deck, we know they can just play a 2-mana 2-2 haste, so we actually just play Brood Tender over cracking the Lander right now. And immediately mill a very relevant card. Okay, milling the Meditation is sad. We're not going to cast this a single time. Again, I said it when we built the deck. If you're just trying to win, you cut that thing. And it has played out that way. It has not been relevant a single time. But it would have been fun. It would have been cool. Okay, let's play Scrap Bot? No, we play Wayfarer because this could actually block the 2-2 without dying. Playing the Scrap Bot feels worse. I was going to say we'll play the Scrap Bot, so cheap removal like Depressurize doesn't matter as much. They're just killing a weaker creature with it. But the extra toughness does matter right now. Okay, that's cute. Buff up the Death Toucher. There's that blue source. Could double ramp and have 6 mana, so I could play Godmaw the turn after this. I could go land Godmaw. But the turn I play Godmaw, I really want to go land after I play it. I think I'm just playing the Scrap Bot for now and passing, and then I have a creature I'm much more happy to trade into the Hole Carver. Swarm Color is the play. Plasma Bolt is the draw. Okay, no red could be a problem. But we'll have it next turn to bolt somebody. Four, 5, 6, 7. So if I top deck a land, I play Godmaw and haste the whole board. The haste is really only relevant for the Godmaw itself, but I vigilance the whole board. That's more important. Starfield Shepherd. They find a 1-mana value creature or a plains to put into their hand off of the Warp. And they can recast it at 5 mana to actually keep the 3/2 flyer on board and search for another card. Here's the Trooper. Put a counter on the Swarm Color to have a 3/5 flyer. Are they going to sack the Shepherd to draw a card? That is a cute thing you can do. You could sack a Warped In card, but they're just going to sack the 2/2 and save the Shepherd for later. Fair enough. Resolve. So no haste this turn anyway. Could just bolt their blocker and hit for 6. And chill. But if I bolt the blocker, no Godmaw this turn. I am playing, like, scared against removal, but that's fine. They're black-white. I expect if I play this Godmaw and pass, we're going to get exiled. I don't know if I want to top deck lands badly enough to not just crack this lander right now. So I have access to more mana, because then worst case scenario next turn I can play Godmaw and the Resolve and at least blow something up with Godmaw. Even if I don't attack with it. I feel like I gotta just get the land here. Oh, they got the combo. They got the Seriema with Servandum. Pretty sick. You probably won't have seen this video by now because I'm going to go sealed, draft, draft, sealed, draft, draft in terms of when I upload them. And I played all the sealed first in terms of when I recorded them. But I had a sealed pool that had the Seriema and Servandum, and I was considering it. I did not go for it. But I do think that the Servandum's great with aggressive black-white decks because it makes sure you can actually get damage in later when your opponents has cluttered up the board. Even your smallest creatures are attacking with Death Touch. So yeah, Seriema, the kind of card I wouldn't play unless I have a good legend in my deck, but at that point it's kind of cool. Let's see what we draw. We do draw the land. I get to do the thing anyway. Let's go. This is going to be gnarly as a turn. Whee! I don't even need to removal spell right now. So I'm not even going to resolve. I'm just going to crack the lander with the 2 mana I got up, I think. Three, 5 on the 4/2. Okay, 3/2 on the 4/2, and then the 3/5 there. Smart. They remembered I can crack the lander for more damage, and I'm going to do it anyway. I mean, I guess I'm killing both either way, but this way they stop more damage. So it is a slightly better block than the other way they were doing it. But they're down to 4. Let's see that removal for the Godmaw now, shall we? No removal for the Godmaw, just a Servandum trying to lifelink their way into this game. This is a fight spell, not a bite, so it's pretty awkward against the Death Touch lifelink. So they're at essentially 8 life. I'm trampling over for 2 and hitting for 3, so they're going to be at 3 after the dust settles, but Servandum will be gone. A land, it's pretty lethal. Agrarian? Agrarian does not do anything. It's a good threat for later, though, when the dust settles. They block the 3/3. They go to 2, but keep Servandum. So, if I want to just kill Servandum here, I have to attack with literally just the Godmaw. I gotta kill that guy. It's sad, but I gotta kill that guy. And this is the only way to guarantee the kills. If I attack with just Godmaw, because if I attack both, they can block there and survive a Godmaw hit. They play a small enough blocker. We kill it and hit for 6 and they're dead. So that is the plan. They tap out for like the 3/2 flyer or something here. Dirgecraft. Okay, that's pretty good. Luckily, I get to keep my better creature, keep the Agrarian. Colossus is not a bad draw. Hit for 4, put them to 2. And here's beef. Decode transmissions, lose their final 2 life, concede there. That is 5-1 with this deck. An excellent start to the Edge of Eternities draft format. Yeah, what can I say? I think Lander tokens are fantastic. Like the green 3-mana 3/3 that makes a Lander token has just been consistently awesome. And this Godmaw is quite the finisher. It's your discount Craterhoof Behemoth card. It is filthy as a finisher. This deck was a lot of fun. The only loss we had, our opponent had a very aggressive curve out, crewed some vehicles really quickly, or stationed some spacecraft very quickly with their really beefy green stuff. And we missed a land draw there. Yeah, our only loss, we just got aggroed out a little too quickly by our opponent. But this kind of deck seems really, really viable in this draft format, and that seems really cool and really fun because I do like this kind of nonsense. Huge fan of the lander tokens. This set has been really cool so far. Splashing into a third and a fourth color, playing giant leviathans, huge beasts, maybe reanimating stuff for cheap. This board wipe plus reanimate the best card, just fantastic card. I would pick one this every single time. The lander tokens make it splashable in a lot of different decks. Card was definitely our best card, but we had several other cards that were really strong as well, primarily like these God Maws and the Wayfarers, and just a really awesome deck to start things off with. So, very fun draft. But I gotta get to recording another, so for now, that's gonna end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and are interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.